Yeah.
Oh, I think my fingers were too big for guitar playing.
That's awesome.
That's just wrong.
I never would have expected that you would have been ready for the jam.
Oh, yeah. I was last time, too.
Yeah.
Last time I had a cowbell or something like that.
Yep.
And
that's right.
This crazy device.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kill that. Sorry.
Let's go break something.
That's right.
Well, welcome everybody. I see a bunch of people already here. Glenn Hinsman, the first comment of the night. Goober, the second comment of the night. Look at you guys.
Wow.
So we are, as evident by the magic blocks that we were given. We are 3/4 of the Travis Larson Band tonight. These blocks here. It says right here. That's why it's official. I don't know if you can read it. It says Kip Stork.
Right there.
It says Kip Stork right there at the bottom. So Kip Stork filling in tonight for Jennifer Young.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I got one too.
Mine's in the car.
Dale, where's yours?
It's in the car.
It's in the car.
Carried around everywhere I go.
So for those of people, and I can't imagine there's any people that would be hanging out here by mistake, but for those people that might have just swooped in and not ever seen this before, this is Outside the End. We are the Travis Larson Band tonight, minus Jennifer Young, who is in Parts Unknown that we mentioned last week. She literally was going to be almost here by the last half an hour, and I just got a text saying it wasn't going to happen. So not that she doesn't want to be, it's just out of her control, not going to happen. There's not internet everywhere.
I'm over it, not going to happen.
Yeah.
Just like my internet right now.
Oh,
God.
So for those that missed a episode of this that was earlier in the series, it sounds so professional when you say it like that. The series and an episode.
Yeah.
It's really intentional. This is just us hanging out. By the way, this is number 30 of Outside the End.
Good Lord.
30
now we're all
weeks.
grown up.
30 weeks we've been hanging out and doing this. So we did an earlier episode in the series with Kip Stork, who has been our, I call him an engineer, but he calls himself a sound puke.
Yes, I do. I answer to that, actually.
Sound puke.
Sound puke, yes, sir.
I'm
right here.
So Kip has been with us, actually, with Dale and I in separate entities, or with Dale and Jen, it would be Jen and I in one entity and Dale in another entity. We've been with this guy since the early 90s.
But
we weren't
for me.
But 91? We weren't together. Yeah, right. I was 90. I was actually 1990 was the first time you did sound for us, I think. Or
no, 90. No. Well, I was DK's was 90, and then 91. And then Loca Ranchero started in 92, towards the end of 92, and went all the way up until December of 94. So you were somewhere, in that realm there.
I guess, yeah, you're right. It would probably be 92 or 3.
92 or 3, I think. Yes, sir.
Yeah. The first show was playing with the Romantics, for those of you that remember the Romantics. Here's the thing I remember about the show. I have to get off on a sidetrack here, but here's the thing I remember about this show. I mean, this absolutely was one of those bands where everybody went waiting for 2 songs, and those 2 songs were the encore, and the encore lasted about 35 minutes.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
They'll come back their money.
They won't leave wanting more, that's for sure.
But I remember they did almost like this. It was like the Romantics took a cue from James Brown or somebody, where they start with the bass player. This is the song that you didn't know you were waiting for until you heard it. But the bass player comes out and he's like, boom, bo-do-don't, do-do-don't, do-do-don't. And he does that he does that 16 times. He just there's probably a minute and a half of just that. And then the guitar player starts going, dun, 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 and they do it like another, like 32 bars of that, get people clapping and everything.
And then the drummer drops, right?
Right.
Oh my
The
God.
beat drops. Yep.
And then I realize, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. And then the singer starts to, when you close your eyes and you fall asleep, sleep, 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 or whatever the line was. Anyway, that was our first real exposure to Kip Stork. He was the big scary sound guy. We were punk kids opening for the Romantics. This is just
you remember
Jen and I, not Dale.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first thing Kip said to you?
Yeah, he said,
no, wait a minute. Was that you or who?
This is me. This is the drummer thing.
Oh, no. That's, see, that's you, Dale.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't using that line back then.
No, I'm just saying I do, and that's because Kip has an affinity for drummers. And when he first met me, he would spout airplane lines, the movie Airplane. And there's a few you can choose from, but remember the weird pilot? He would go like, "Do you like movies about gladiators?"
That's when
that.
Who was it? Billy?
Yeah,
Who was the kid? Billy? Yeah.
Billy, do you like it when
Billy, do you like to watch
your
gladiator movies?
Yeah. One of the lines
Billy,
may or may not have been, you ever seen a grown man naked? And that may or may not have been the line, but anyway, it was a good camaraderie right away.
Stuff you can't do in movies today, right?
It's sound guy and drummer. That's the deal. That's
I see Joe Narduli, and I see Gino, and Julie Cord is here.
Julie Cord, awesome,
nice.
I've been
watching.
Hello, Julie, how you doing?
Wow, everybody's tuning in to see how badly it goes without Jennifer. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah, I know.
It's scary because I'll tell you, you guys are entertaining on your own. You don't need a guy like me around, that's for sure.
Yeah,
it's big shoes to fill, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for everybody. Kip, you're always beautiful because we always those comments always go to Jen, and you're filling in her spot. So let's show Kip some love, you guys.
Not nearly as good without her here.
We're entertaining on our own, the guy says. That's the beginning of the musician getting the big head, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah, walk through those doorways.
The sound puke knows exactly what to say to keep his job.
You have to call me something.
Hey,
I will say I'm not a guy who searches out cat videos on the internet, but I will watch Julie's cats all day. Those cats are awesome.
I will watch Julie's cats. Hey,
Julie, how's Harrison doing out there? That's what I want to ask you. That's an inside between me and Julie and I.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to...
It's a political thing. Trying to stay away from that stuff on the net, though.
Yeah, we have so far tap danced around anything like that.
Sure enough. All right.
Sorry, I'm downloading some pictures that I see. Here's what happened, people. As we know from last time, Kip is in the feed tonight, so most of the pre-show is taken up getting things working.
Right.
Yeah. But well, can I say it? That software program that I'm not willing to say that name right now will suddenly take over my feed or my whole screen, asking me if I really want to say something or ask her something.
Yeah. Yes.
Sounds like curious, but it's not that. It's not curious.
Careful. Your voice activated phone software. Yeah.
It's gonna start.
She gets in the way.
Yeah. I'm afraid to say that stuff.
I'm trying to. I've got some photos here for something that I wanted to do a show and tell on.
All right, we'll keep talking. Kip, that happens to me during drum lessons where I'll ask students, so when you play along with music at home, how are you doing it? And it's funny how cryptic they're able to be at like age 11 going, it's a certain Amazon-based female named voice-activated software. Like they don't want to say it because it's going to fire it up.
It's going to fire it up and shut down the Zoom call or whatever it is.
Yeah, right.
It's offensive.
Plus, you say that stuff in a webcast and it fires up all the listeners' stuff too. That was a big funny thing in the beginning of webcasting days. Yeah, because see, the big search engine named software. So they have similar AI.
Oh, really?
Only it was more. It would call people. You could say, "Hey, call," and so when people would use examples in podcasts, people would listen in their car, and then their car Bluetooth would start dialing, their mom or something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so, it wasn't a butt call. It was actually this other kind of call.
Yeah, it's actually, your phone got hacked by the stereo.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, intrusive.
Right. I'm almost there, you guys.
No worries.
I do want to mention the very first comment in tonight's feed is a event link for Wednesday, which is the next Travis live from the treehouse.
Yeah.
So now that we've finally got things functioning, we thought we should do at least one more before we change stuff. That's always the way it goes. Once you get it working perfectly, then you do one show and then you move on.
Right.
But I thought, let's do one more show where it actually works, because that'll make me, at least feel a little better about all the work I did for months and months.
Yes. Yeah. Plus, you've been practicing. You gotta get props for that.
Practicing.
Me, not so much.
I've been practicing working the equipment. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, you've been doing all the tech stuff.
Yeah, you can probably count that.
But yes, this Wednesday, go to the first comment in this feed, and you can find it later. But that'll take you to the events page. I'm still doing a multi-stream on Facebook and YouTube. So here's something interesting that's been going on. First of all, YouTube eventually pulled down the last live stream based on copyright infringement. And that's interesting because
the snippets of our own stuff.
Facebook notes or what?
Well, no, Facebook left it up this time, which originally it was Facebook notes, and it was like whether or not Facebook would leave it up. Facebook, I still have the last live stream up on Facebook, but YouTube. I think
that's actually where I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. So YouTube eventually.
Are you talking about your performance one, or are you talking about the?
Talking about live from the treehouse, the performance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The streaming concert. So, It will work though for the live stream. Like they won't pull the live stream down, so you guys can check it out on either Facebook or YouTube on Wednesday. But I don't know how long the YouTube event will stay up. This leads me into yes.
What time on Wednesday, Trav?
It's at 7 p.m. Pacific. Kip, thank you very much. Yeah, somebody's been paying attention to the professional sidekick. This is exactly what like Ed McMahon or Paul Schaefer. This is exactly what they would do.
Yeah. Save it for the show, mister.
Yeah, you got
a drummer for that stuff.
Like when you see a detail that's been missed, you just chime in and you keep me on track. That's what a sidekick does. Now Dale, of course, he doesn't count because he's the other talent, right?
Well, yeah, okay.
Those are the excuses.
Well, I should say he's also the drummer.
Yes, right.
I was trying to be nice.
Sorry.
I was using
it in all the nicest ways.
Never apologize to a drummer.
When I said he's the talent, and I also realized he's a drummer, I was trying to be as generous as I could.
We all put it in air quotes. He's the talent.
Talent.
You know what, Dale? You are a very talented drummer. I will say that honestly. Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the stuff he's done for me lately, well, a year ago or something, was.
I suppose talented drummers sort of like a military intelligence, right? Those oxymorons.
Well, no, I've heard other stuff from some of the same people I've been working with different drummers. They're not nearly as good as you are. So.
Oh, well, cool.
There you go. Yeah.
Not cool that they're not even as good as me, but
Tommy,
cool not even close.
Tommy
the flavor
in the
is
chat,
so good. The taste is so good.
Tommy in the chat says, and I assume he's mentioning the three greats. He says Jen, Ed, and Paul.
Right.
So yes, big shoes to fill, Kip.
Yep. Stephanie says, "Careful, Kip. You might have gotten yourself a regular job on this here webcast."
Oh no. No,
he doesn't have the technology to pull it off.
I know. I can't say that one word. It sounds like that. Yeah, that one thing. My phone will be taken over.
So back to the YouTube thing with the last live stream concert. So there's also a thing going on where these live chats I would also post on YouTube after the show. Now, last week, anyone that goes and checks out the YouTube ones, and I don't know if any of the same people that watch this would go to YouTube for any reason, but if you did, you realize it took me 4 days to get it up this week. Usually, that's what she said. Come on, where are you, Kip? Come on.
I was going to actually try to let it slide by. I wasn't even sure if that was okay.
I'll give you my Ed McMahon. Yes.
But anyway, so the problem is I used to do this hack where we would finish the show and I would go on Facebook on the computer And what you can do, this is a hack that doesn't work anymore, people. So me explaining it won't help you. But what you could do is you'd open up Facebook in Firefox, and you change the www to an M. The M is for mobile, like on your mobile device. And so then you get the mobile version of your app on your computer. And then you could right click on a video and download it.
What?
So I was able to download these from Facebook, and then I could instantly throw them up on YouTube. But they took that away. They figured out that we were doing that.
You set the curve for everybody else, Trav.
Yeah. So now they won't let you do it anymore. The reason is because they want you to pay for the feature to do multi-streams on 2 channels. Now, I do multi-streams on 2 channels when I'm doing the live performance because I use a different software. I use OBS. This particular software is StreamYard, which is like a free thing. We use that because it's easy, and it's we can do remote. We can get Kip from the studio and Dale from his studio and all this stuff, which I obviously don't do with the live stream. So anyway, there's your lesson and my complaint. But if you don't see another version of this on YouTube for another 4 days, it's because what I had to do was screen capture it on my iPad, like record it onto my iPad
in real time.
Wow.
In real time, and then upload it to YouTube. And the audio was so out of sync that I threw it back into some software, some editing software, and tried to sync it up better. It still looks like crap, but it's more of a podcast anyway, so you can listen to it on YouTube. But if you watch it, our lips are like a good second off about half the time. So I don't know why it does that. Anyway,
so you have to do a workaround to get it on YouTube, or is this just because we're so cheap?
It is actually because we're so cheap.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't actually trying to say that. I was just like, this cannot possibly be that it's this elevated of a platform and it can't find its way to YouTube. Okay.
Hey, there's Chelsea and there's Mary. Just so you guys know, Jennifer is in parts unknown, but she'll be back. She's not like, she hasn't left the band or anything.
She's off on a photo expedition.
She hasn't changed sex and gained about 400 pounds and is balding now.
Right.
And can't play bass anymore.
Okay. I want to find something here real quick if I can. I'm not sure it's going to work. Let's see. Sorry. Hang on. So did you guys, are you guys familiar with the Bear?
Oh.
Wait, are you talking about the local Bear in San Luis area?
Yes.
Okay,
so for those
rumor.
Yeah, so Los Osos, California is a suburb of San Luis Obispo, California. Los Osos is Spanish for the Bears, right? Or the bear. The Bears. The irony, and I think we've talked about this before, is there's not any actual bears out here because they were all hunted out 100 years ago, and there used to be, but now there's not. So here's the thing. Oh, it looks like Stephanie may not know about the bear. So this will be a fun. Does she?
Okay. It. Yeah.
Okay. So there was a bear in town, and he was up in a tree over near my parents' house, and a bunch of people got pictures of this bear, and it was not a small bear. It was like a huge, looks like a black bear. And it was way, way, way up in this tree. So I'm trying to figure out I've got a few friends that sent me.
He swam across the bay to get there.
Right?
What? Come on.
So, have you guys seen this?
Yes, that's cute.
Aww.
He was way up in a tree. He was like 35 feet up in a tree.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get to the next shot. It's not acting like it normally acts. So for whatever reason here. No, it's not letting me. All right, how do I get out of here, you guys?
Me, I just start pushing every button there is.
Here, let me see if I can click on another bear. I got a few nice shots. Okay, are you guys seeing a tree now?
They're just seeing the bear.
A tree or a bear in a tree.
He's in a tree.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah. All right, here's what we're going to do then. I'm going to open all these, and then I'm going to go find them. This is not my fault.
Okay, so I'll fill in with the backstory. How's that? I remember a couple years ago there was a bear. There was a bear in San Luis Obispo, and I loved this story because he was reported, and animal control finally found him in a tree, and they didn't want to, trank him. They didn't want to shoot him with a tranquilizing dart up in a tree because then he'll fall and hurt himself. Okay, I'll interrupt my story because now we see the tree.
Yeah, so he's like right around here. He's way, way, way up there.
Yep.
Yeah. Right? Wow.
And then there's the bay back there. My parents' house is over here somewhere. So for those people that are trying to find my parents' house, it's over here somewhere.
Yep. So this bear, well, I'll jump ahead. Well, shoot. Now I already started a different story. A couple of years ago, there was this bear, and they didn't want to trank him because he was up in a tree. And so they're waiting for him at the bottom of the tree for when he leaves. But bears will just sleep in trees. So he napped for hours. And then they let their guard down. And when they weren't paying attention, he took off. They waited there for 4 hours, but the bear got away anyway. And then he was seen just sitting in a yard by Broad Street here in San Luis, just sitting on his butt with his legs in front of him, eating avocados off the ground. And so my favorite headline about it was "Local Bear Snacks, Naps, Evades Capture," which pretty much what I aspire to, right?
That's kind of what we do in every town we tour in, right?
Yeah, you try not to get caught, you snack and you nap.
Yeah, exactly.
So this bear, do you know the story with this guy?
No, but look at the size of these things. Everyone's, oh, what an adorable bear. I'm like, yeah, adorable until he comes into your yard.
Oh, yeah.
Until he's in your house.
Yeah. But so you're looking at this right here. Look at the size of these things.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, this
one finally came down, and he came down from the tree, and he was doing the same thing. He napped up in the tree, and they're waiting a long time. And he came down, and they tranquilized him. But then he crawled back up the tree, and then
after he got tranked,
fortunately, didn't climb too high because then, of course, he's all loopy and he falls out of the tree. But he's okay, and they relocated him to some. But I kind of thought that was sad. Now he's he doesn't know where he is. He just woke up after being tranquilized in a new area. Doesn't have his friends and family.
Hey, anyway, Rodney is also here.
Broken up a family,
Hey, Rodney is also here. Hi, Rodney.
Hey, Rodney.
Hey, Rodney says, adorable till he savages the living hell out of you.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I don't want no part of these things.
Yeah.
Still sad. He's just going to wake up like a hangover in some area he's never seen and not be able to find his family. But anyway, he didn't get hurt in his fall, and it was pretty cool.
So so that's the bear story. There was a bear in town. It was this is the big kind of exciting stuff that goes on during COVID when you're living in a small town and there's no shows and you can't tour.
Yep.
There's a bear in a tree. But here's the thing. I've lived here. I lived in the Valley of the Bears, quote unquote, for 45 years, and I've heard of 3 bears.
Yeah.
I've heard of 3 bears. There was the one on Morro Bay State Beach once, maybe 10 years ago. There was one in downtown San Luis, running down Higuera, rummaging through the trash, and this one in a tree in Los Osos. And this is the first bear in Los Osos that I've ever actually had any firsthand knowledge of. So, I mean, 3 bears in 45 years in the Valley of the Bears.
The Valley of the Bear extinction.
Yeah. So I was going to tell this, Kip and I earlier, this is going to be a little bit of a weird story.
Uh-oh.
Kip and I earlier were talking about, well, I wear earplugs constantly, right?
Oh.
And so
because when you sleep.
Yeah, so basically when we're on the road, it's all day, right? I just wear earplugs 24 hours a day.
I was going to take that personally, but yeah. Because you sit in the van for 4 hours before the show and then 2 hours after the show, and you got your plugs in. It's you're ignoring us.
Let me real quick. Chelsea says, "Am I writing any new music lately?" Not to change the subject. Chelsea, I have 6 songs demoed. When Jen gets back from Parts Unknown, we are seriously going to start looking through things and arranging things and sending demos to Dale to start chewing away at.
Here's some of these so I can start worrying about what I got to work on.
Oh,
right.
My God.
But it's
then I got to start worrying.
Yeah, well, you got plenty of time, Kip, because we've got
right. Well, you're not going to be able to tour on it for a while.
Right, exactly. And everyone's saying, well, just get 3 albums in the can. The truth is, it's pretty hard to be inspired when you don't have like a finish line date. I even saw Sting on the Tonight Show like a week ago, and Jimmy Fallon was saying, "Are you working on anything new?" And he literally was, "I'm not very inspired." And most of the musicians I know are not truly inspired right now because there's not a lot of input. There's not a lot.
Yeah, there's not a lot of contact.
Not a lot to be inspired about.
Face to face and talking, telling stories, all that stuff.
Unless you're like an angry political, like death metal raging guy, or Henry Rollins, the guy that writes like, kind of like heartfelt, touchy-feely instrumental music is not feeling it right now. So, but I am, Chelsea. I'm working on stuff. There will be new TLB music, I promise. And I'm really excited about some of the stuff. But it's, to dig into that stuff and really get your mindset in it, it's lately been a little difficult, but it's, it is what it is, right?
Kind of hoping for some 4/4 again, Travis.
Kip's always trying to get me to write. Kip wants for
Led
4/4
Zeppelin
songs.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So I can count it. I'm a simpleton. That's what I want. I want something easy to count.
When I said you were filling in for Jen, I didn't mean you had to actually learn the bass parts. So, don't worry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. I couldn't learn one of those. No, thank you.
So I'm going to keep this story as ungross as possible and just make it like concerning. So I wear earplugs all the time. Every once in a while, I get like wax buildup in my ears because I wear earplugs so much, right? And so for about 4 or 5 months this year, I was starting to have a little bit of a hearing problem in my left ear. And I knew it was like a wax buildup and not like a real problem, not like a hearing loss problem. And I was like, okay, I got to deal with that. Mm-hmm. And then it started getting bad enough to where I really needed to deal with it. And so I got one. I've done this before, I've actually been to the doctor to have them, clean out your ears. And once you know how they do it, you can do it yourself as long as you're careful. So I got one of these like bulb things that shoots hot water. You basically suck hot water into this thing. You shoot it into your ear a couple times. You loosen up earwax, and hopefully it comes out of your ear. Huh. So I was doing this recently, and it was really bad. And I'm like, blowing this thing into my ear, and I do it like maybe 2 or 3 times, and it's just like, it's not getting better. Like it, the water drains out. Huh. No, it just wasn't coming out. It was like too much buildup in there. It was like, a bunch of earwax jammed up in my ear, and I couldn't get it out. And then I blew this hot water in there maybe like a couple more times, and on the 6th time,
cornered yourself into a gross story.
Well, I'm not going to get any grosser than that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank goodness.
But
go ahead and finish it though.
These are the trials and tribulations of a guy that wears earplugs 24 hours a day, right? So and this has never happened to me, but I like 6th time I blow a bunch of hot water in there, totally clears out. I all of a sudden I can hear. I'm like, it's like the best I've heard out of that ear in a year. And like, water's running out of my ear. I'm like, oh, great. I kind of like put my head up, and all of a sudden I'm just like as enormously nauseous and dizzy as I've ever been in my life.
Oh, yeah.
Just like
all the pressure got relieved into your inner ear, right?
I'm just instantly like sick.
Yeah.
Like sick to where I'm all of a sudden I'm like throwing up, heaving, like sick.
All that pressure on your eardrum.
Sick. And so I basically
like sick.
Yeah. I mean,
hey, I'm eating.
So I lay down. I lay down on, that side, so, the water's draining out of my ear and stuff. I'm just like in my bed, just hanging on for dear life. Like I'm on a roller coaster.
Your mouth is open, you're drooling out of the other side.
Keep in mind, this is a guy that never drank, doesn't do any drugs, doesn't smoke anything funny. And so I've never, I don't.
In other words, you probably weren't that nauseous, just nauseous for you.
No, I
right,
was
exactly.
No, I know.
I was as nauseous as I've ever been in my life instantly,
right.
like so
right.
fast.
But you just said you don't know from nauseous. So
Yeah, well, now I know from nauseous. You've been on planes with me.
yeah. Good point. Yeah. Trav, highly
No,
motion sick.
Really?
yeah, no, I get sick
You
real
one of
easy.
those guys?
No, I know.
Oh,
I
that's too
believe that
bad.
you were super
Yeah.
nauseous. I was just
I love airplanes.
So I was just like toast, and I literally took like 24 hours for me to even really get up. Like I was on the phone with a friend of mine, and I was like, I'm sorry, I have to go. I'm not doing okay. I just did this thing with my ear, and then I'm explaining that. and
That's
then
insane.
and then my friend is calling Jen because everyone knows Jen is like she's my oldest, tightest friend, and she lives up the street. So like they're calling Jen going, go check on Travis, something's wrong, and Jen's coming over checking on me. And I literally was like, the room was just spinning. Like I wasn't able to even like hold down food or anything for like 24 hours because I cleaned earwax out of my ear. So yes.
When was that?
How
long ago?
I was like a week and a half ago, something like that.
Wow.
But I neglected last week to talk about it. I think it might have been the week that Eddie Van Halen passed away, and maybe the story got sidetracked because that happened. I think this happened like on maybe like a Sunday night, and so like all Monday and part of Tuesday I was down, and then Eddie passed away on Tuesday, and I think then that whole week became Eddie passed away, and so I never talked about the earwax story, which
that is a scary story though, because like if it was drugs or alcohol or motion sick, you would know that it's going to fade. But in this case, you're forced to wonder, did I do something that this is just how I am now? Because people have inner ear problems where they're just stuck with that.
Right. And did you ever end up doing the other side?
And
the same
other
thing
side
happened on the other side.
The other side's okay. Chelsea says, Travis, you're like a kid with a bean up his nose.
Yes.
This is where we start charging for premium content, and you can like have the visuals and stuff.
Well, I do know, so Trav and I, we talked about this before, but when I'm in the shower, I like a nice hot shower. Right?
This is getting good already. This is getting good already.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Anyway. Yeah. So I like a nice hot shower, but I let the water run right into my ear as hard as I can get it. And like even the pulsating.
Yeah.
Oh God. Are you gonna do that to me? I'm gonna tell a story now, and you're gonna do that?
Yeah, if you get the story done before he plugs in, you're safe.
Oh, I know. Quick. No, so I like to use hot water just jetting it into my ear. It feels great.
Yep.
And I've been doing that for as long as I've been an adult.
So I can never do that. It'll never escape my ear.
4 or 5 years.
I can never get water to escape my ear, and every time I see an audiologist, they ask me if I get surfer's ear, because they're like, no, water must never escape your ears, and then
Tara's the same way. She gets it stuck up in there, and it just stays there.
Yeah.
Tommy has a good point. Since you are a substitute, Tommy says Jen never talks about taking a shower.
Oh, well,
maybe that's why. Maybe Kip's actually a better co-host.
No, stop.
Yeah.
No.
I was optimistic when I saw an audiologist recently to get some in-ears fitted, and because I've never had actual molded ear or IEMs, and I've had
that now.
things
what are you still laughing about?
This is not a gross story, but it's kind of creepy where I feel it feels like there's something rolling around against my eardrum, like it has that
that's weird,
that exaggerated volume, and you can just but in the back of your mind, it also, or I don't know if I know this, but I imagine it could also just be damaged cilia, and if that's even the right term, those micro hairs that register sound pressure levels. And so then when I got this done, I was like, this is my chance to ask her, is it a mess in there? Is there a bunch that needs to be cleaned out? And she said, no, it's pretty clean for somebody who wears earplugs and stuff. So that was cool, I guess, but it leaves me with the bad news that all those weird noises are actually just damage.
Yeah, or there's just an ant crawling around in there.
Yeah, that too.
This is great. First of all, Ray says Kip likes water in his holes. Good to know.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Julie said too many replies possible for ever since I've been an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh my God.
Tommy says I'm a lifelong swimmer. I literally stick my pinky in my ear and make it pop to clear out my ears. That's what I do too when I have water in my ears.
I've never done that before. Yeah.
I mean, I do it carefully and subtly, but
that all sounds gratifying if it worked, but apparently for me, it's not gonna. I remember asking, "Is there something weird about my ear canal shaped?" And she goes, "Not as weird as you would think." She said something like, "Not as weird as you think from looking at it from the outside." But what she said was, "It's a little weird how different they are from each other." Like I have two ear molds that look nothing like mirror images of each other. Like one, I have to sort of twist in at one angle, and one's like 90 degrees off. It's really weird.
Oh, that sounds strange. I have two different ears also, but from surfing, I grew up surfing for 25 years, and one of my ears actually has the bone is swelling in my right ear just a little bit. So if you look inside, there's a surfer's ear, it's called. Right, but that's the side that would face the wind the most, and so the cold gets in there, and water and cold, and eventually this tissue starts to build up in there. So I got what's called a surfer's ear on my right ear.
Maybe it's that mid-range 2021 album will be called Orifice.
Yeah, and I also saw. I was going to say, Mary said, "Hey, we love Jen. She balances out the boys' club." And Rodney says, "Jen's not here, and the topics just go to hell."
Yeah, right. Jen can move things along with one comment.
Have I apologized?
All right, let's go. So I have a show and tell. If we can get off of this topic.
Yeah.
Let's get off the ears, Travis.
So I've talked about how I've slightly caught the vintage drum bug. I've never been a vintage drum guy, but I've started coming around a little bit. But I have certain.
I had a vintage drum bug in my ear once.
Right. And so yes, but I'm still not going to spend $1,000 on a snare drum unless it's super duper specific and necessary. But there's some drums out there that for like $150. It's like a super versatile drum, and I don't know, it's cool. Anyway, Joe Travers texted me a while back, going, "Dale, I found it. Look at this. Go get it." Because a long time ago we did a gig and he had a Ludwig Acrolite aluminum drum, and I said, "Oh, cool, an Acrolite." He goes, "You like those?" And I go, "Yeah, I don't have one yet." And he started sending me like, Here's a few. You should go get one. Everybody should have one." And he's right, but I never had any money. And so recently, during the pandemic, I got an Acrolite and I showed him the picture. He's like, "Awesome!" And then we talked about this Ludwig drum he got. It's an old wood Ludwig Pioneer. It's just a student drum when it came out, but they've aged in a way that everybody knows they sound good. So anyway, he sent me the link, and I got it.
Oh,
it's pretty much stock. It's 1964.
Is that a 6-inch?
It functions perfectly.
It's really 1964?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
is that a 6x14?
All stock. The blemishes are all just like in the shell, but it's pretty happening. It sounds good.
6x14, Dale?
It's a 5x14. It's a pretty. It's not like an old Gene Krupa Radio King that's going to cost $2,500 or something, but for not too much outlay, I got a cool Ludwig. The ironic part of a drum like this is that it's versatile and it's probably going to be used more for non-TLB stuff, and there's nothing going on right now anyway. So part of me is like, what am I doing this for?
There's non-TLB stuff?
Well, I guess I mean recording.
I don't want to step backwards, but I just want to touch on, Mary says alcohol drops in the ear also helps. So does, whatchamacallit?
Glycerin?
No, the stuff that like foams up when you put it into a wound.
Peroxide?
Peroxide, yeah.
Oh.
So the deal with alcohol,
that would keep
if you
bubbling
have water
in my ear
stuck in your ear
for a day.
If you have water stuck in your ear, alcohol will break the surface tension and allow it to get out.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of ear wicking?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Do we want? Anthony says, for those of you tuning in for the first time, it's usually not like this. I just want to preface.
We like to take care of our ears, though. Being musicians, sound guys, all that stuff.
Yeah, Rodney says
hearing is really important.
Hydrogen peroxide. Yeah, but here's the thing, and I did that when I did this whole cleaning my ears out. If you really need to loosen something up, you just put it in there, let it sit for a while, and then you do the hot water thing. And usually that works. And it did work. Oh, remember I said I squirted it a 6th time?
Yeah.
If you look the procedure up on the Google, it says if 5 times does not do it. It says if 5 times does not do it, consult a professional. It literally says that, and I read that after the fact. I was like, "Oh,
that is weird." What is it about the 6th time?
Apparently, the 6th time. Apparently, you just become you start pulsing and fall into.
What are you doing? Don't you know that 6 times is too many?
I do now.
So, all right. So I'm going to play the general. We're at 40 minutes, and we've talked about mostly ears.
So, I was gonna touch a little more for the people that are actually interested in the band. Did you guys know that this was a Dr. Phil episode about ear health? Not that he would ever have an episode about ear health.
Yeah.
You gotta clean your ears. Anyway, so I was going to talk a little bit about more in depth, because when Kip was on last time, we just kind of did an overview of our relationship with Kip from beginning to end. But I said to Kip, we've been going through albums each week, and he goes, the only thing I remember is the first album.
Julie says, you guys have a band?
Yeah. Is there a band somewhere in there? No, that's so I think I was most involved with that one. Any of the ADAT ones, I was the most, involved.
Yeah.
Because after that, it became a Pro Tools thing, and then, for me, after a certain point, it became getting a drum thing together and then mixing the thing.
Right.
Whereas you and Jen would tend to, go off to your own studios and do your own thing, and so that was,
So I thought I would just kind of, have this rolling, but we started before we had I kind of went over this last time, but not as much detail. But last time we actually, before we started making a record, we had to build a studio, right? And so, can you guys hear me still?
Yep.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. I just going to have this kind of running in the background for a bit here, but
look at those young guys.
Yeah, look at this guy. Look how buff out this surfer guy is standing up on the drywall. Look at this guy, right?
Look at that kid, the 16-year-old kid next to him. Yeah, look at that. That's a lot of soldering. Ooh, look at that control room.
So I mentioned, this a little bit on the last broadcast, but just to kind of touch people up on Kip Stork, who's been with us for at this point, 25 years. More than 25 years.
Yeah. Well, what, 97, right?
Well, we built the studio.
Well, yeah, we started the studio in 97, but we've been dealing with each other since, 92 or 3?
30
somewhere
years.
in there.
Yeah, I like how you put that. We've been dealing with each other.
Well, you've been putting up with me, I should say it like that.
So Kip, basically, where were you doing sound when we decided that this was going to be a thing? You were doing a regular gig at one of the local clubs when we were like,
that was, Loco Ranchero was, DK's and then Loco Ranchero. And then right after Loco Ranchero was Slow Brew Upstairs. And there's a difference between Slow Brew Upstairs and, all before the studio. The studio started in 97. I rented the building in 97 and bought all the materials. And then we finished sometime in 98. So it was like a year and a half of building the studio. But that was 97, 98 is when we were building the studio. So
I used to call you all the time, throughout the week. So you and I had done some demos together at our previous drummer's house. Cucaracha Court. Yeah. And we called it Cucaracha Studios, which was just his garage. And that was JR Folly.
That was JR and Steve was
JR's not a drummer anymore. If people go to search for him out there, he's not. He went on and has a different life now. Doing he's actually very successful because he got out of the music business.
He was smarter at a younger age than the rest of us. Oh, look at that place, all brand new. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
All those doors. Bought those doors as blanks, and then put in the hinges and the doorknob. All the hardware.
Yeah.
And made my own frames and everything. Yeah.
So I remember leading up to this, you were talking about maybe doing it, and then I would call you and we would just talk. You know how sometimes we would just talk. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Sometimes. So long ago, Travis.
I'd call Kip up and we would just talk, but we would just talk into the night about this studio and when we're going to do it. And he was looking for a place, and you looked at.
Yeah.
Did you look at multiple places, or did you just kind of find this place and that was it?
I looked at a bunch of places, mostly warehouse. Sometimes they were combination warehouse / office space. And back then, believe it or not, prices were about, $750 for 2,000 square feet, which is what I started with here. Right. But this was just a big empty warehouse.
Wow.
So that's, prices were, that cheap back then. It was pretty amazing. And this is 97, 98 in San Luis Obispo. Now, if you try to go find something, it's got to be $2 a square foot, or maybe $2.50, $3 a square foot, something like that. I don't even know anymore. It's been so long since I've even thought about it. But yeah.
And
sure enough,
we hung 20 tons of drywall. And
20 tons.
I think 200,000. Yeah.
Well, I remember it was 328 sheets of 12-inch or 12 foot by 4 foot, half-inch thick drywall. So 328 sheets is 5 stacks, about 5 feet tall each.
Right.
Right. So if you can imagine a stack of drywall.
I don't know if it'd be
safe. This is one of the. This is one of those times when Jen would save us from getting into feet and pounds and go, come on, okay, nobody cares about this.
Oh yeah, no, it was just so much weight and so much mass, and you didn't want to move it more than once if you had to, so we had to put it strategically and where you wanted to put it in the building, before the walls went up. So you had to think about it at least.
Yeah. So nothing. I don't think you had to mess with your device because it was sketchy earlier, but just so people have a look. Everything behind you there, like none of this existed. None of those walls, nothing. We built everything in an empty warehouse, right?
Yeah, sure enough. That's right.
So it was literally just like 4 walls. And I remember the first night we hosed it out with like a pressure washer.
Yeah, there was a flood some years before, and it left a dirt, a little dirt, thing that you had to clean out. We used a high pressure washer.
Yeah,
and got it all out of the place.
That's 11,300 screws.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, it was crazy.
Right.
It was insane. Yeah, a lot of work and a year and a half out of everyone's life. So thank you, Travis. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Dale.
Oh, yeah.
That's why. Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
Dale showed up just enough to get into the pictures.
Yeah. You get there the first few weeks and the documentation's happening, and then you get a job because you just got done touring for the first time in your adult life.
Right. No, there's pictures of Dale up on a ladder and a screw gun in his hand and goggles on his face. And
I'd work 12 hours and head right over after managing a local health food store.
Yeah.
Thanks. Right. Help with it.
So
the
first album, basically, what did you have for a board at that time? We had just like a live board that you had around, right? Like a Mackie board?
It's a Mackie board, but it's not a live board. It's a studio board. So, there's actually returns on it and stuff. So, but yeah, it was a 32x8 analog, console. Noisy as all hell. And I had all sorts of outboard gear and, all analog stuff. And, and then the ADATs, I had the 20-bit ADATs. I had 3 of those. So we had 24 tracks of 20-bit ADAT. That's what the first album was recorded on. It was,
there
patch bay with, the patch bay alone was just a piece of work,
There was very little. We did some overdubs on the first record, but for the most part, it was basically we laid it down live and then added to it and fixed things. That was kind of the first 2 records were like that. And I remember because you mentioned outboard gear. We didn't have any digital processing, so you could only put like if you had like a compressor or a reverb or something, like you had to make that go a long way, right? Like share that on many tracks.
And you had to plan around it too, because the last thing you wanted to do was repatch the patch bay between mixing this one song to the next song. You wanted to leave it all patched the same way with the same settings, because you'd recorded with this very similar preamps and settings like that. So, and the board would always come back the same way. The drums would be first, bass second, guitars third, and then the vocals, all the vocal work, that was the hard part, But you didn't want to change the patch bay at all, because it was all hand plugged, and then the settings on all of the outboard gear, all those settings had to stay the same also. So if you made the mistake of leaning up against something and hitting a knob or pushing a button or whatever, it could change the whole mix, and you wouldn't even know it until you started digging into it. Why doesn't it sound as good as that, or why does it sound like this,
And
you actually had to plan. You had to plan, and you had to, like all the other, I had a bunch of other customers coming in at the same time, and so I had to like block out X amount of time, because I knew it was going to take that long just to mix that first album.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't want to touch the patch bay. I didn't want to touch the console, unless I had to.
Right. I remember one of the weird flashbacks to that time is I can't remember if we've ever mentioned this, but you were doing a show at Slow Brew with Bucky Page and Riders of the Purple Sage.
That guy. Yes. Awesome band.
So anybody that doesn't know who that is, was it
Riders of the Purple Sage?
What's the song though? Did they do Ghost Riders in the Sky?
No, they did Water, Clear Blue, Clear Clean Water, that song.
Yeah, but wasn't there like a huge
country western music.
Yeah.
That's a big hit. What Kip just said, that's a big deal.
Okay.
In the country scene.
So Buck Page, the cool thing about that band is that Buck Page, I don't think, was it Bucky Page or Buck Page?
It was Buck Page, not Bucky.
Not Bucky. I remember don't call him that.
I remember his guitar player literally looking at you going,
"Yeah,
it's not Bucky." And then he was joking around with him. He's like, "All right, Bucky, let's go."
Yeah. So it was after the show upstairs at Slow Brew. They came over here to the studio, and I think you were there too, weren't you? And
we were working. That was the whole thing. Was we were working on that first record.
Right. Brought him in. Yeah, Buck Page. He was about 80 years old at the time, and he had been in that band for 6 decades. 60 years. He started on bass when he was 14 years old, and he was in that band for 60 years at that point.
Yeah. Can you imagine being in a band for 60 years?
60 years. I mean, come on. Well, people are starting to hit that now, right? Some of our idols, the Stones, how long have they been together?
Yeah, it's only been 20-something, but yet somehow I feel like I could imagine it.
Yeah, we're going to be, I'm going to be pushing 90 for us to get to 60 years, right?
Yeah. Think about it.
Yeah, start.
Scary. Buck Page, though. Yeah, he's the guy.
Mike Haynes says, Kip, your meters are going crazy behind you. Are you recording something?
Oh, no, I just got something. You know what? I got something playing in the background just for, here it is. Ready?
Nice.
It's could have been.
Am I on that?
No, that's just for, yes, Mr. Moon. How dare you say that? You are. Yeah, there you go. Absolutely amazing, Dale. I'm not kidding. The stuff. No, I'm not kidding at all. It's wonderful. It's what you did. You make all of us sound reasonable.
It's my pleasure for my friends.
Well, thank you. No, but that's a recording that Dale helped me with. Gosh, it must have been about a year now. The project's been in the books for about 3 years, but it's still not out of the can yet.
Gotcha.
So we're working on the finishing touches.
So to finish up on the Buck Page thing, it was this. Kip brought this legendary, really elderly at the time, country legend guy by the studio when we were at our little studio that we just finished building, working on our first album ever. And he brings this guy in, And he sits down with me and he goes, "You like Willie Nelson?" And I said, "Never met him."
Aw.
And his band got the joke, but he didn't because he was the older guy. You know, he's probably 80 something or 90 then.
He was close to 80 at the time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he looks around and the band goes, "He's never met him." And like he didn't quite get what I meant. You know, it's like, he's like, "No, do you like Willie Nelson?" Basically, this guy was telling me. So the story basically was that, you know, he was kind of like Willie Nelson's influence, you know, like, whereas Willie Nelson obviously has a million influences after him, but this guy was like up there, and Willie Nelson was here, and then everyone else is below Willie Nelson in the country world, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Willie's amazing.
Somebody wrote something I said. I think maybe it was my pleasure for my friends. Dale put that on a business card, and it reminded me of somebody handing Kip this card. It was endearing to see Kip get a whole bunch of compliments mixing the Aristocrats shows. First time we're out, somebody came up. I think I've seen this around now, but this is the first time I'd seen it, and it wasn't really a.
What's
this? Is a Kip. This is a card somebody handed Kip.
Oh.
Every word on it is like, even the little small print
awesome.
bottom. I was like, that's a good card.
Wow, that's nice.
Stranger.
I have that card on the refrigerator.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not sure if it's that actual card that you have there or if I got one as well, but I remember
I think he gave a couple people cards, but I liked that the first one I found out was Kip. He's like, good mix. There you go.
Yeah, you get lucky every once in a while. Oh, my God.
Gino says, do you like Gladiators? Hey, what was the song? What was the song on the Aristocrats tour that you were driving Gino crazy with?
My lovely lady lumps. Well, that started about a weekend or less, but God, for some reason,
I hated it more than Gino. I hated it more than Gino.
Did you really? You hated it more? Gino
I would actually get angry and storm off. Like,
that's awesome.
Like, it was just banter between you, and I would just be like,
but somebody would ask a question, and there's an affirmative answer in the form of the song. Right?
That might be.
It's a yes.
That might be the reason I started playing Total Eclipse of the Heart to you at unsuspecting moments, because it has that huge 80s snare that would just go, and you just look up and go, that's gross.
Yeah.
That might be the reason.
Phil Collins song that you always wanted? Sarah? Was it Sarah?
No, that's not.
There was a song. You remember how we'd like? There was walkout music. Who had rights to the walkout music? Remember how we were doing that? Yeah. Right. So some nights. Some nights. Right. So we'd like figure out.
You're right.
So tonight is going to be Travis's night for walkout.
Was it me
music.
And Sarah Jane?
Yes, it was. You always had to have that Sarah Jane movie or song going on.
Is that what the song was, Trav?
It was a Phil Collins.
Yeah,
song,
you're right.
Yeah, it was Genesis. I think that's right.
Genesis, excuse me.
Sarah Jane.
Oh my God!
It doesn't seem like, but there was an obscure Phil Collins song that I would never let you kill the house music until that song played.
That song came on.
I'm not sure if that was it though. It was something like that though, kind of like not something you would first think of.
Right.
Now
I particularly did not like that song. Maybe as much as you didn't like the my lovely lady.
No. Whatever you disliked, it's not as much as I disliked that.
Well, you and Gino sure got your earful, I'll tell you that.
Oh, I hated it so much.
God. You know what's kind of funny? Yeah.
Go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
Oh, I was just going to say that after that tour, that song was in rotation as a video after bands would play at the SAR and this other place that I just recently worked at. And so one or a couple of nights I would record just the chorus, where the singer goes into that part, my lovely lady. And I'd send it to Dale and Gino. They loved it.
It's been asked on this webcast before if Dale's ever angry, and that's one of the few times I really was. And then the fact that I got angry about something, I got angry about something so dumb.
Oh, I can't believe it.
The fact that I got angry about something so dumb would make me laugh later. Like I'd get angry and storm off, and then I'd laugh at the fact that got me mad.
Just the idea of the song, not like the song was actually playing, but the fact that I brought it up. That's what made you angry. And that whole time we were rooming up, and you never said anything. Not even once. I had no idea.
You had no idea?
When we were on tour, I had no idea. You did not let up that you had gotten angry.
I was not even once.
Says we loved it.
I was not.
Yeah, exactly. I think you guys did love it.
You, my friend, were not listening.
What? Did I miss something?
I made it very clear how much I disliked it. Oh man.
Tommy says you wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Apparently nobody can tell when I'm angry.
That's for Tommy. Okay.
Sorry, Dale, I should be a better roommate than that.
No. That's what you got to do. If we don't have some belligerent tale to tell about touring together, then we're not really doing it.
So let's this will be maybe a more like pared down version than last week, but we should go through this record a little bit that we made.
Okay.
Being that Kip, it's the only one Kip remembers making. By the way,
that's not true.
What?
The running joke we have with Kip is it took him a good 5 years to even remember Jennifer's first name.
Oh, that's just terrible. That's just terrible.
Hey, Trav, I never told you this, but there's a new across the hall person at a rehearsal space when I was practicing the other day, and he said, "Are you in the Travis Larson Band?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like a 20-something, and he goes, "I just got a record of yours from like 2001 or something at Boo Boo's." And
wow,
like it wasn't like you guys are amazing, I've seen you live. It was like I've seen an album of yours, and I said, "Oh, is it just Travis's face, kind of like with an airbrush vibe?" And he goes, "Yeah."
Oh wow! So it's 1998.
He got the first album. It's the album we're discussing. Yes.
Yeah, 1998.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what he said, but he just got it used at Boo Boo's.
Okay, so this album, they always say you have a lifetime to write your first album. Unfortunately, my lifetime, I hadn't developed any skills in playing music yet. But no, sorry.
Oh, come on.
So Tom called me the other night because I was talking about Suspension last week, and I made some comment in passing where I was talking about our shitty little record in reference to Suspension.
Uh-huh.
So just so people understand, I mean, when you grow, these early records, I'm glad we made them, and it was a huge learning process, and we are better for it now, and we eventually started figuring out how to make records. But and so I stand by them. They were what we were capable of with the resources we had at the time, and for historical content and some cool musical ideas, they're great. But so I'm not trying to shit on our old records, but it is what it is. When you're, when you make art, you're always like more excited about the newer thing. And this thing is 22 years old now, 23 really, probably when we started working on it. Right.
Right.
And some of these songs are probably close to 30 years old. And that goes back to my comment of, you spend your whole life writing your first record. So I had songs that were kind of like, like from high school and stuff, just demoed and kind of saved and all this stuff. So, but one thing I will say is that, again, we knew what we knew at the time. But I had a conversation with a famous, really incredible musician that we're tight with who wanted to produce us at some point. And it was like after Suspension had come out, and he was like, the thing about those records is they sound a little bit like rhythm tracks, like they're not done. And the reason they feel kind of not done is because we'd never had an opportunity to really figure out production in a overdubbing kind of way, or adding, a million tracks to make something sound thick or fuller, or that kind of stuff. We basically knew how to play live, and live, certain things work better than they work on record. You'll have a section where you could play a part like 12 times and be like pointing in the air and jumping up and down, and it works. And then you put it on a record and it's the part where you just played it 12 times. It's like,
right. Yeah.
So we learned a lot of stuff on these early records, and, I'm really proud of them for what they are. Just to clarify, I'm not like, oh, I hate our old records, but It's not the same quality, you know, of what we've become, and nobody is. You know, you listen to, you know, I don't want to like specify, but some of my biggest heroes, you listen to their first record or first couple of records, and they sound pretty. You know, whether it's production or writing or whatever, you know, everybody grows. So, but
come a long way is what you're saying.
Yeah, right.
Well,
you know what I noticed?
Sophomore effort. Too,
I don't know about you, Trav, but I will say we were talking about suspension last week, and with regard to that comment about it seeming a little empty and little like rhythm tracks, I didn't notice it as I was listening to this album today. And it held up a little better than I expected it to in my mind.
Yeah.
Because it's so long ago. And when you make an album, you get done with it and you're just mainly, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'm aware of how much I suck compared to how I wanted to be, you know? And so you put it to bed and you go, wow, I'm terrible. That album's crap. I'm like, and then I went back and listened to it and went, you know, I don't know. But songwriting wise specifically, I thought I had more of that impression from Suspension than I did from this album. These seemed more like fully formed songs to me.
Interesting.
I don't know.
They're pretty on par to me, like pretty evenly. Yeah. I feel like, and I was still learning how to play, honestly. I mean,
yeah, right.
You know, really. I mean, Jen and I hadn't. Like neither one of us were like incredible musicians. We'd been playing for a few years, but we were doing bar gigs and we were doing a lot of cover songs and that kind of stuff. And you know, I wasn't like I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I still am not. Obviously, nobody ever.
Yeah,
is.
I don't want to imply that I was either.
So, yeah, Trav. Also, you didn't have MIDI at that point, did you? Or did you?
Not till I think we had MIDI on. Did we have MIDI? I think I might have had. I might have had MIDI on the first record, but not like it was really basic stuff. Like there's no huge wash of. I wasn't
pads.
I wasn't tracking with MIDI.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the big.
So how mapped out? How mapped out did you have the suspension mapped out before you walked in?
Suspension or this album?
In other words, did you double the guitar parts? You know, for a fuller sound, you know, like a more sharper left-right thing.
I did double tracks on both records. Really? I did do that stuff. Yeah, but it wasn't.
I don't think you've done that since. I don't think you've doubled up tracks, have you?
Oh yeah, absolutely on everything.
Everything.
But the difference
all the rhythm stuff.
The difference is now. Back then, it was like it was time, and I would just use the same sound for everything. Like I would have my guitar sound.
Right.
That would be the rhythm sound. I'd play a track, then we'd pan right, and I'd play another track. Then I'd play the lead track down the middle. Nowadays, I'll use a different guitar and a different amp for every track, and we'll do 50 tracks. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I know. I remember when you really changed your guitar sound quite a bit was right after you worked with Luke, coming back from that studio in North Hollywood. You know, you said, "Oh my God, I'm going to go home and we're going to change some things." You know.
Well, I learned, a little bit about the big thing that happened after the Luke sessions was more of like starting to incorporate more of like the single coil and rolled off guitar tones and stuff. You know, where
slightly brighter sounds. Is that what you're getting at?
Well. I've always gone for kind of a creamy sound, but I incorporated other tones within that.
Right.
And if you listen to the first couple of records, it's pretty one-dimensional in tonal, because we were just blasting through tracking stuff, you know.
We were trying to get it, yeah.
Yeah, and then the keyboards, you know, are pretty basic on the first couple of records. Like I was basically just trying to get it done. You know, like I was trying to play stuff that I could play that we could track. You know, and since then, you know, since all that changed, what'll be interesting is, because we're doing this out of sequence. Last week was Suspension. This week's the first record. Next week we might just talk about Halloween. That'll be the big Halloween extravaganza.
Oh, yeah, right.
But
and this is after your performance on Wednesday too, by the way.
Yeah, correct. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, you are correct, sir.
Yes, you are correct, sir.
I just saw a mention. It said, what album do you feel that you really came into your own and are proud of? Well, I was going to say the next discussion about an album in its entirety will be Burn Season. And Burn Season was the first where we really started pushing production. Like we really started understanding.
That was Pro Tools, right?
Yes.
Pro Tools? Yeah.
Also, we had capabilities digitally for the first time. Oh my
God. Yeah, that just opened up the whole thing, didn't it?
Yeah. And then
all of these conversations about how far you come as a band, some of it's genre specific. To me, about half of it is our ability to play and getting better and musical instincts. And about half of it is we're emulating bands like Vi and, or I don't know, even Eric Johnson making an album and stuff where the MIDI, the technological tools existed, but there was a money barrier. So we were trying to effort past, I know I just used the word effort as a verb, but we were trying to effort our way past all the barriers. And so if we were a band more like Blues Traveler or something, which I think are awesome, but if you get 4 people, you know what you're going to sound like, and then you go try to document it. In our case, you're trying to figure out like what you're saying, how to get more sounds instead of just one tone because you can't afford more time. And then also we would have discussions about like literally we would rehearse and you're like, okay, so second time around, imagine this happening, but I won't do it right now because then the bottom will fall out. So there was just so many things that there was a bigger difference between what we could accomplish at our level and what somebody in our genre was doing, because it's not a genre where you just put 4 people in a room and throw mics in and see what happens. You're really trying to manufacture this sonic landscape. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like that. In our defense, I feel like we did as well as we could in that regard. We could always have played better or had better vision.
I would argue that the TLB is on that side of the production, whereas a band like the Aristocrats, I'm pretty sure they're all kind of in the same room and they're doing this in one, several takes.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
But they're not doing the huge overdub thing at all.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. They're not going to, even if they were kids without the ability that they have now as players, they wouldn't be trying to figure out, they would still be just trying to document 3 people and 3 people sounds, not 11 really guitar sounds.
Right,
and
exactly.
Symphonies and keyboards and things like that.
Yeah, we're influenced by bands like Rush and the Dixie Dregs and stuff, and which is a bigger band, And so I was always, in the first couple of records, you're basically trying to figure out where the line is, or is there a line between what do you make for a record and what do you do live? And at some point, because of technology, we just threw everything out the window and said, let's just make the exact record we want to make.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just make the record you want to make. And then you figure out how to do it, and now you can do it because, there's, and it actually makes it more fun. We're all having to do more things on stage. I say more fun.
Right. Yeah. Well, but there's a trick to that, Travis, as far as mixing live. Like when I'm on my side of the glass, so to speak, I'm on the audience side mixing you guys. So the stuff that you have in the background that's going that you obviously you can't play. So like the keyboard parts and other things, they still have that record sound, that compressed EQ'd sound, that production sound. And so when you have a live band coming off a stage, it's sometimes hard to blend that in, that not so dynamic sound in to make it sound like it belongs in a live environment, which is where the band is. Right. So when you guys are up there playing as a trio, and then here comes these parts, that are flown in that are like harmonic to whatever you're playing as a lead or whatever the part is. Sometimes that can be a little bit hard because it's exactly the album.
Right.
So it's a challenge.
Yeah, but the beauty is that we have this really good sound guy that's been with us for 30 years almost.
There you go.
I can remember, Kip, along the lines of what you're talking about. I can remember I was trying to be dynamic on stage and
with your right-hand ride.
Well, just in general, I was trying to make more dynamics because sometimes you try to be dynamic but it doesn't come across because you have to exaggerate it. But I remember at some point you going, you're actually over dynamicing things, like Jen and Trav are here and they're up and down a little bit, and then there's occasional backing tracks.
Right.
And I do remember you pointing that out as the guy in front of house.
It's
like you're being too dynamic for what you got going on. Yeah.
Sometimes, the smaller rooms are a little bit tougher. Bigger rooms are easier because it's a bigger room. It's more PA. It's more people. There's less immediate sound, right off the stage.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to you on that last tour about your ride to your right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, was it your closed watch? Your closed hat on the right hand side?
Maybe.
We were talking about how. Right? I'm not sure. It was one of those two. I think it was the closed hat on your right hand. I said, "Oh man, that's just so loud all the time." And then you tried backing it off. Yeah, and then you tried backing it off, and I was like, "Oh gosh, I still hear it so loud in the mix for some god awful reason." Yeah, boy, we went back and forth on that for a while.
Yep.
Actually.
So,
but
well, back in the old days, and I've mentioned this a few times. We literally had Jen and I had two of these Akai SO1 samplers, which are like literally the size of an old computer tower. Like they're huge. And I think Jen figured out last week that it held, was it like
10 seconds.
10 seconds total.
You were saying, and yeah.
Oh.
So the kind of fly-in stuff that we would do back then would be like one guitar harmony or something like that, or maybe like one of them was the loop intro for Morse Code, which is a piano part from the studio. I don't think we'll do track by track. Maybe we'll revisit this and do that with Jen at some point, because I don't know if we do that with
that
with
would
Kit.
make more sense.
Yeah, but I was going to say real quick, just to share like a couple of things.
Mark Storm is watching. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Mark Storm.
Golf.
Stormer.
I shot a horrible 96 the other day. It was terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. Kip and Mark Storm are golf buddies when they can.
Oh, my God. He's so much fun to play golf with. Absolutely.
So, like Morse Code was the song that kind of starts with piano. I'm not sure what this is going to be, but
hopefully it'll be Morse Code. Is that what you're getting at?
Did that stop?
Yep.
It stopped playing over here. Yeah.
All right. So that song. Oh, there it is. Hang on.
We don't hear it.
I don't get it.
Yeah, no worries. We're gonna. We'll come back to that some other day. But stuff like that where it was very basic. It was like there's a basic piano part that intros the song, like an arpeggio, and then these big power chord hits between Jen and I over the top. They're like, blah, da, 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 da. And so those piano parts, we would sample those, and that was the extent of the production back in those days. Like there was no MIDI guitars, there was no samplers, like we weren't all three of us weren't trigger sampling things from the stage where it was like, okay, here's an orchestra and here's some sound effects and here's guitar harmonies and all this
with
stuff.
With no click too. We used to just feel that out and felt like we should be on it as a band to the point where we feel the right tempos. So we would start songs, or we would start songs without samples and then fly them in. And if I'm rushing,
that's crazy.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. For 2 years we did that. For 2 albums, we would use backing samples, but not backing tracks. And we were just like, and we got so tight.
Well, you still do that, but nowadays you can incorporate a click to it. That's if we play, like Neville is a good example of that, where the click comes in like when you hit the sample, right? Or is it just that you have it blasting in your ear? But I know that it's better now.
Yeah. So basically, I remember us getting so good at it that it was really reliable. And then one day suddenly realizing we play all the same size places. We were starting out as a band. We played all 150 to 350 like bar/nightclubs. The energy is reliable. Our energy was reliable. And we had it down. And then we did something where I was excited and rushed and it didn't work out. And I was like, instantly realized, oh, eventually we'll be playing places bigger than 300, and the first 1,200 seat place we get into, Dale's going to be excited. It's going to be a disaster. And then I remember we were talking about last week. I remember Squeeze and Shake. That's off the other album, Suspension. That was the first time I just didn't even tell you guys. I just started using a metronome to see how that went live. I had no idea how using a click live was going to work out, but I didn't trust myself on that song, not to rush the crap out of it before Jen had to do a solo, and then she would just be cornered at a tempo she couldn't play. And but the further we got as touring players, the more bigger places we did and the more smaller places we did, because if you're actually out on the road instead of just making a weekend trip,
all of a sudden you're doing guitar centers and stuff.
Yeah, there's no vibe, no energy at all, and then you're going to play a 2,000 seat place. And anyway, I just remember us using backing samples, no click reference. What in the hell? Although, frankly, that's what Rush did. But that's another example, though, of same energy everywhere they play. It's consistent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can control.
I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Oh, didn't Jen early on have some samples at her feet? Wasn't she the person?
She had forest pedals.
She had real-time performance piano parts with her feet.
Yeah. Just talk amongst yourselves for a moment.
Yeah, she had one octave of keyboard that she would step on with her feet. Yeah, but they weren't samples. She could trigger.
Didn't she also have like a sample or a trigger? Like she would hit.
She could trigger samples with those. But sometimes she was playing parts with her feet while she played the bass.
Yeah,
like she was tapping her toe on keyboard keys to play parts.
Right. Yeah, kicking the pedals.
Fab's busting it out.
He's pulling out the deep stuff now. Yeah.
This will be an expansion on tonight's show and tell.
Uh-oh. What do you got there?
If I can figure
out what it is.
Here, let me blow myself up here.
It sounds expensive.
No, not anymore.
Look at this.
So Jen had this on stage for the first 5 years.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
So it's basically like a keyboard. It's the MIDI switch. Yeah. So she had different samples, and she would actually play piano parts with her feet because we didn't have sampling capabilities that would allow us to do anything, complex. I mean, it was like they had to be short samples.
She did some drone stuff too with that, right?
Yeah, but that's the easy stuff. But the hard stuff was like, for instance, if you're listening to the first record and you listen to Short Fuse, there's a part in there where I'm playing an arpeggio and there's a harmony to it. It goes deedle 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 deedle, and she would play the harmony on the keyboard. Now, going back, being that this is like 22 years ago, shameless, that we totally copied the idea from Dave LaRue, who was doing a similar thing back in those days with Steve Morris, where there was a part where we were like, oh, if you just play the top note of the arpeggio with your feet, it'll sound almost like there's a second guitar playing the harmony. So I'm playing maybe 3 or 4 notes, and she's just playing the accent that pops out. So
that's awesome.
Sounds like there's 2 things happening.
Yeah.
But she would actually, so she would have to play that with her feet, and then you could also MIDI it up to the Akai to where each pedal could be a different sample. So, you'd have again, she would hold that down for the intro back in the day. This might even be before Dale had samplers. Yeah, because there was a time where you didn't have samplers, or you were just MIDIing to our samplers, I think.
I was always controlling your samplers.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I remember, I think there might have been a time where she held down one of those and it was the arpeggio intro to Morse code.
That's true too. I said always, but back then, I didn't have a sampler. I just had controllers.
Right.
Yeah. So the little diddle 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 diddle, the piano part, she would hold a key down on that pedal right there, and it would loop that. And it was actually like a sample of the performance. And like you were saying earlier, Kip, we didn't do any of that stuff with MIDI back then. Like I had a MIDI thing on my guitar to get string sounds. That's basically all I did with it back in those days. Was I would have string pads so if I was playing chords maybe behind a bass solo or something, I could bring in synthesizer string pads, and that was the extent of how complex that was, you know.
And another thing about the technology that's changed is back then you were playing the big power chords that came in on underneath the melody, right? But now these days you'd play the melody before you play the big power chords. The big power chords would be, you know, happening underneath.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays we don't even.
You play the focus.
Right. And one thing that and one thing that will, the one thing that we stay away from kind of with the samples for the most part is like rhythm guitars for the most part. We don't usually touch those. Like if there's a rhythm guitar on the record that's like chunking along, we won't sample that and put it in. But what, you know, sometimes Jen will add a secondary fuzz on her bass that's like a different channel. Sure. So there's a root bass tone that sounds warm and sounds like Jen's bass. And then over the top of that, there'll be some distortion just to add, like we do that. I mean, there's some songs that we haven't played in a while, we haven't played anything in a while, right? But
sad but true.
The Nevermore is a perfect example of that, where Nevermore is a song that has big, thick, but live, and you can see it on the DVD. And we've been playing that one for a while. I think that's on one of the DVDs, right? That's on the last, the Mexican.
Mexicali, yeah.
Yeah. So Jen plays that. There's no rhythm guitar track there, but what she does is she has an octavider going on her bass where she's got the top end distorted, and so she's got like the low drop bass tone going, and then she's got on the top of it kind of like sort of to add like a distorted guitar tone, because all it's doing is doubling it on the record anyway. So she just got the fatter tone. It's more, you know, it's almost like putting a little bit of a Geddy Lee kind of tone on the top of what Jen's huge, like this big kind of farty low. So
yeah, as much as we're talking about backing tracks, it is pretty Rush-like. Most of it's just ear candy. These songs don't fall apart if those go away and they're crafted pretty. Travis has the hardest role because, like, if the backing tracks go away, if I decide we lost our place or something went wrong, or if it glitches out, I kill the backing tracks. Now, every time Trav is he'll play a part, and then if he's gonna go to a harmony, and then the part he just was playing gets replaced by something, Trav has to recompose everything in his head and make decisions on what to play the next section, and then remember how to do it. So that's the gnarliest part. But overall, it's not like you're not having the computer do stuff that is critical to the song, and then nobody on stage is doing it. You know?
Hey, let me step back here just real quick and we're getting close to wrapping up here, but Gino says, Mark Storm fixed my golf game. Guy can do anything. Mark replied, Mark says, I'm a hack. Everyone. He goes, really? Want to play for money?
Oh, boy.
But
playing golf with those two guys is actually really fun because Gino always shoots a 9.
But Ray chimed in and said, Ray said he didn't know who Mark Storm was, but just from reading these comments, his short game has improved. But I just wanted to clarify who Mark Storm is for anyone that doesn't know. Mark Storm has tour managed us many, many times. He's my best friend, and he works with Electro Voice, who's one of our like long time endorsed companies. Makes all the PA stuff that we took out on the last North American tour. All the microphones Kip uses in the studio and that I use in the studio. And this is an RE
20.
I changed it. Yeah, this is an RE 20. I had an RE 1000, which is what Jen would normally have if she was here. So, But anyway, Mark
is a sweet, lovely man.
Yep, he's great and talented at everything, and humble to the point where you don't know he's talented at everything.
And he's got a pretty mouth.
So I got to read a comment because I'm not able to like it. Something is glitching out on my iPad or Facebook. But I was talking about how you do clinics and there's zero energy. And Ray says, hey, I gave you energy at Guitar Center Pasadena. Haha. And I'm like, totally awesome. And I want to put a heart emoji or something, but it won't let me. I don't know why. So, thank you. Everybody who is at clinics, thank you. But you know what it is. It's 4 p.m. It's fluorescent lighting. It's not the same.
Yeah.
The songs are going to be that much slower.
Right. I I just saw completely off topic. Tommy said, "What was the cost savings of recording in Mexicali as opposed to LA, percentage wise?" Well, here's a quick story.
There's no recording in LA, first of all.
Yeah,
There's no recording in LA.
Here's the thing about LA. First of all, Tommy, I like to crap on LA whenever I get a chance. Here's the thing: is I'm from LA. You're from LA too, right, Kip?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I could say whatever I want, people, and if I say that I want to crap on LA, I'm going to crap on LA. As Henry Rollins so eloquently put it, LA is an industrial park where you go to earn money and then go home.
Right. Well, Avalon is not in LA either. Just so we understand that. All the recording we've ever done has been at Avalon.
Avalon is in San Luis Obispo,
California. Except for Mexicali.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Live recording, which Mark Storm was at.
Mark Storm was there. Mark Storm was in Mexicali.
Yeah, that's right.
So we did the gig in Mexicali because number one, the fans were there. Like we wanted to have a packed big show that looked and sounded great, and they were the most enthusiastic audience that we knew of in our world. Secondary, yes, it's less expensive down there, but we kind of did a deal where the promoter, I basically had him find a bunch of camera people. Jen and I made sure that they had a specific kind of digital camera that would work with specific kind of memory cards that we work with our digital cameras, including Mark's camera. We took down, I think, like half a dozen cameras of our own. And then they had another maybe 4 camera people or something like that.
Well, and we ended up hiring the people to do it.
Yeah, we didn't have to hire camera people. The promoter in Mexico lined them all up.
Well, we only hired like 1 or 2 for the other one anyway, right? I mean, I'd say we spent more money going to Mexico because we were so enthusiastic about how much they were into the music.
No, when we did the previous DVD, we spent some money.
Well, on the venue, right?
Well, it was actually a charity thing, which is how we got the venue.
Right. Yes.
And we
gave Rock Show, right?
Yeah. No, Rock Show was Slow Brew. That was the very first.
Rock Live.
Rate of Change Live.
Yes.
Was done. Actually, we made money on that show, but we did pay a bunch of people a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay. Well, never mind. Never mind.
But we didn't have to. But Mexico, they were very, very enthusiastic to be involved. The promoter found people that were enthusiastic to be involved that did a great job. There's a university down there, so there's a bunch of people going to the university that want to do things in media, and this was a great time for them to kind of put their skills to work and get experience and be part of a project that was going to be released internationally and something that was in the US. So there was, kind of a pluses for everybody. I mean, obviously it was stressful and there were language barriers and all that stuff. But what we did was we just took a handful of memory cards down there, handed them all out to these guys. At the end of the night, we took a handful of memory cards back to the United States. And then I proceeded to edit for a year.
Right.
But that's essentially what we did in Mexico. It wasn't just to go down there and save money. It was to go down there because we knew we could have a great show. But and we'd already done an American show that looked great. Yeah.
Was that my ADATs that we brought down there, or was it something else?
No, you had a hard disk recorder.
Oh, okay.
You had
that's right. I had a split. I brought a split. Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had like a multi-space hard disk recorder that we took down that was similar to the one that we used to use. Like we had one that Dale was actually using on stage for samples and stuff for a while, and it was too sketchy for that. But you had a similar thing that you used for our Mexico show to actually record it.
Yeah, I remember what it is now. Yeah, I still have it. It's here at the studio.
But hey, Kip, did you? A couple of things since you're filling in for Jen. I don't want to put you on the spot. Yes. You could just say no. But didn't you tell me that you had a Who's the Man for this week?
I don't. Sorry. Yeah.
I thought that. For some reason I thought you told me you had a Who's the Man. No. Was it you, Dale? I'm hallucinating.
I don't think so.
We talked about me coming up with a bad joke, but I don't even have one of those because I'm too nervous to tell a bad joke online. I'm a loose cannon, baby.
All right, all the more reason to tune in next week, because next week is the big Halloween extravaganza. I was one of those guys. I don't know if you guys saw the social media post about 6 months ago that went off about Halloween being on a Saturday this year and how it was going to be so great. And then
a full moon, maybe, if that's true.
Yeah.
Ooh,
full moon,
that could be fun.
like on a Saturday night. If if that gets screwed up because of the pandemic, I'm going to be so pissed. Well, here we are.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have to dress up for the show. But I have years of stories with TLB of one of the things that we've mentioned here and there, but TLB over the years has really dug into Halloween if we're home. And we haven't been home.
That's true.
It's been like 6 years since we've been home, unfortunately. But this year we were going to be home, and it was going to be on a Saturday, and it was going to be amazing. So we're going to spend it with you guys next Saturday. And I have pictures and some video and all kinds of fun. But we did some extravagant Halloween productions because we have all this gear and we never get to use it for anything other than playing music. So smoke machines and flashy lights and all that stuff becomes really fun in the neighborhood on Halloween. So, so anyway, that's what's going on. Julie says, I thought the Halloween when you were here was pretty good. That's right, Julie. We were at Julie's house.
I came across the Frankenstein suit the other day that I wore at Julie's Halloween.
We did a Halloween house concert at Julie's house a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Which that was actually the first Halloween celebration that we'd had in the last 6 years outside of, because usually, like literally, we've had some Halloweens that were just on I-5, just driving.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
I remember meeting up with you guys because I had left the tour and you stayed out with Jen and did some clinics for a week. And I went home to teach and came back, and I flew on Halloween. And I remember thinking somehow it just came up in passing that we should have
in the South
a video update where people are in costume. So I didn't know if you'd be dressed up or not, but I had some vampire teeth and some blood on my face. But it was hard to talk with the teeth, and I was asking people where the baggage claim was because it was something weird. Anyway, I wasn't going to take the blood off, but I kept distracted. People kept saying, sir, you have blood. And I just thought to myself the whole time, it's Halloween. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, Kip. Dale literally just looked like he looks now with blood running down his face.
Yeah. Well, and so I had I had eye black on and stuff like that. But you basically, I could just be super tired with a fat lip or I got punched or something.
It wasn't extreme enough to say this is a Halloween costume. It was a little more like you're in the airport looking at this guy going, stay away from this guy.
Yeah. I wasn't wearing a cape like a vampire or anything like that. I just looked like a bloody guy.
Yeah. Like this guy just like looks like trouble. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but don't talk to him.
Yeah. Watch out. He looks like a drummer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Hey, so you know what else I'm looking forward to though before next Saturday?
What's that?
Is Wednesday night show at 7 o'clock on.
You were killing it.
Yes.
Look at you.
Yes.
All right. Somebody pointed out that next Outside the Inn will be the 31st one, and it'll be October 31st. Nice job, Mike.
It's crazy.
Wow.
Okay, so
that's a very interesting. Good.
This Wednesday, everybody, live from the treehouse, live from my studio here, 9 camera angles or 8 camera angles or whatever it is. High fidelity sound. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be huge.
Kip, you've been a wonderful Jen.
Yes, Kip, you've been beautiful.
Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, thank you.
And I will also mention that in the description of this feed, you can find links to all the Support Travis Larson Band links. We have new merch for this webcast that is described in the link. Also, at the top of this feed is the link to the event for Wednesday's show, or you can just check out this page on Wednesday, and you'll find me at 7 o'clock Pacific time. And I'll be here. And I tried playing this bass earlier, and it doesn't work anymore. I think the batteries are dead because the bass hasn't been picked up since January. So I'm just going to clap along. And Kip, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Awesome.
TLB.
Nice being here. Nice to be here.
hang out for a minute and we'll come back. Bow, 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 bow.